works, which one we like better. Okay, if I can, I'll try to look for your questions. You're doing great. We're all hopping on. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I've had some nice time drinking some tequila with Michael. So I'm still sipping. Hopefully I can hold my conversation.
Cheers.
Cheers. So this is my second episode of Local Legends. Do you know about Local Legends?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just a little
It's
idea.
that thing that Victor gets on Strava every time he does it. Okay, never mind.
So I had this idea because all these really rad people around us like put on these events, and then there's rad riders who win them, and then there's people who fix the bikes for them, and there's people that make the beer for us, and we just have a pretty freaking awesome network. And it's not like they come into our town and leave. They're our neighbors. Like they live next to us, you know. I didn't mention this before, but Victor's kids go to the same school as my kids. Your kids go to others. So, and then there's probably kids in our school that are also local legends, which I hope to bring on in the next couple of months. So that is kind of the brainchild behind Local Legends. And last month I had Victor Sheldon, which is a big promoter of mountain bikes. And today I'm so happy to have Michael Marks, which is a big promoter for, as many of you guys call gravel racing, which he will call mixed terrain.
That's a new term for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael Marks has a huge history, and if we were to talk about everything he's done, it would be a series in itself, the Michael Marks Show.
No one wants that.
No, it's
Let's
actually
get it
really
down
great.
To 10 minutes.
So this is going to be about 30 minutes-ish, and I will tell you a little bit about him, just in case.
While I'm sitting here?
Just quickly.
Okay.
Okay. So he's the founder of Moments of Cycling, which has Monuments. Sorry. He's a creative disruption officer, which again is something I wanted to talk about. Creator of Belgian Waffle Ride, which I was going to say something about. He had a professional racing career, which I just learned about, and is another subject in itself, and was on the U.S. national team for triathlon. He loves to play the drums and is quite proficient at it, to be very humble. He loves surfing. He lives in Leucadia, has children and a wife. And so much like how we are our life, we're trying to balance life and sport and all that. And we have the new Velotown. I put the Velotown mayor. I wasn't really sure what to call you. So anyway, that's Michael Marks in a big nutshell. And so I wanted to get started. I do want to first admit that when I first heard about the BWR as a mountain biker, I was like, what is this race? Why would anybody want to do this? And I want to say no offense, but it's actually kind of like a lot of mountain bikers feel that way. And this is not the question where I want to go, but I knew about BWR and about all this and just thought, what a silly thing to do. And a lot of people that haven't tried gravel feel that way. So I'm going to start with kind of like the Monuments of Cycling and BWR. And how is it that you saw, if you don't mind, do you want me to say gravel or do you want to say mixed terrain? I don't want to.
Well, next month we have the BWR documentary coming out on Outside TV. And then the title of it is called This Is Not a Gravel Race.
Okay. So
let's just talk about things that are not gravel races. And we can lump BWR in there.
Okay. So how did you see that this type of riding, and this has been 10 years.
Yeah, a little more.
Could be a race?
Well, as with most things in life, there's like this selfish motivation, right? To when someone invents something, they do it because they're like, well, I want to do this, but there's nothing to do it, so I'm going to create this thing. And I mean, I'm Belgian. I love long races. I started racing my bike when I was 12. It's the same year I did my first marathon, which isn't saying much because my brothers did it when they were 8. And I had a UCI Pro card at the time to race cyclocross. So for me, I was like, selfishly, why don't I create a race that's a 7-hour-long cyclocross race that all the mountain bikers can laugh out? But at the time, cyclocross was really popular. And I thought, I like this. I'm going to invite 136 people to do this thing with me. And then my only request is if they like it, they can tell people on social media. And that's what they did. And that's what we did. And then every year it evolved into more dirt, longer, harder. And it's become something that more people care about than the 136 that originally did it.
Yeah. Are the 136 still doing it? I imagine so.
A lot of them have gotten too out of shape or too distracted by life, but 118 of them finished that first year. And then my goal was to like make it so hard that people would have a hard time finishing.
Yeah. And how did you do that?
Make it longer and dirtier.
Yeah.
And then I had people like 5 years ago, people were telling me, oh, you have to make it shorter, make it easier for people. It's too hard. People are over it. And so that year we went from 128 to 146 miles and much more dirt. And I think that was the pivot that really made it something special.
Yeah.
And if I had listened to everyone, if I'd listened to all the voices, the devil saying, just make it easier, just quit, it wouldn't be what it is today.
Mhm.
But making it harder, more challenging, and more special, it's a more exclusive group of people that can eat that whole waffle. And I think that's what makes it special, is that it requires a lot to finish.
Yeah. Well, it was an achievement. I did my first one this past year, and it was, it's something definitely
But
people
you're
are
gonna come
proud
back
of.
for more.
Faster.
Always.
Again, if I can find your questions and I'll read them.
How do you read?
I know
sideways like
it's
that?
kind of hard. So anyway, thank you everybody who's logging in and joining us with Michael Marks. So we were talking about BWR. The whole idea of the gravel being a race, there's just a lot there. I think the interesting thing about the gravel race is you get the mixture of the cyclocross. It's like a junction, and the road riders and the mountain bikers.
For those that don't want to make fun of it. But it's meant to be to bring everyone into this thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, it started to be a spring classic.
Okay.
So it's to emulate, we just got to watch Paris-Roubaix in October. But we don't have cobblestones, but we have rocks and dirt. So why not make a long road race and use the rocks and dirt to be the cobble sectors? So Paris-Roubaix had 30 this year. I think we had about 26 for BWR San Diego, but it's still only 53 miles of dirt. Whereas Kansas is in a couple weeks, and that's 86% off-road. And there's a 6.5 mile cyclocross course inside of the race in the last 25%. It's nuts. It's so good. Yeah.
I look forward to seeing what that's going to look like.
Oh my God, that's going to be so fun.
So now I'm jumping ahead to the Kansas part. But just to go back.
I did that. I'm sorry.
No. Please, this is your show. So now we're at 5,000 people with BWR San Diego.
4,000 signed up.
4,000. And so what do you think potential is? Do you think that it's going to stay that, or do you think it's going to get bigger, or you're going to have more BWRs in different locations? Or do you think that this should stop here and there's something else that could be done?
Well, we're going to add more. So we want to do one in Tokyo, Canada, Colorado, Texas, Mexico. There's a few other locations in the US that we want to do them.
Wow.
And then there's other people that want us to bring this insanity to them as well. San Diego will always be the special one, the most important, sort of the Kona of.
I love that.
So I think this one will always have a demand. I think we'll have to cap it, and then it will sell out very quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, each venue has its own peculiar elements and idiosyncrasies that make it unique. So the Kansas one is different than North Carolina, which is very different from Cedar City, but each of them has their own unique complexion that makes it really fun and interesting. So you can do the one here in San Diego and have a completely different experience at any of the other venues. And the experiences are all meant to be celebratory. So there's still the waffles and the beer and working with local people to make it special and to impart or to bring this idea of Belgian inspired bike racing to their town and then funnel it through the prism of those people to make it special to them so that those locals have psychic equity in its success.
Yeah.
And so each venue has local people that make it magical.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing is those local people, those local legends making it amazing.
Yeah, that is great to hear that you just don't go in and just like take over the town. You guys work together to make it something that's very, very different. Well, I think that's great to share with people because I think as a San Diegan, I feel like this is the best one because we know it.
I'm partial to it as well. I mean, I've made some years I make as many as 19 courses to get approved, and then maybe the 20th one gets approved. And the last few years we've kind of kept it the same because the county, by the way, to the folks at home, the county does not want us doing this. They always try and that's why we don't have any more road races here. They don't want people coming to San Diego. They don't want these type of races. They don't want the work that goes into it. And we're like, sorry, we're going to continue to do this. So I think I've made at least 100 different BWR courses over the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, that seems, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but that seems unfortunate that the city would do that. I would think that they would.
It's the county. The city of San Marcos is amazing. The mayor is amazing.
Yeah, she was great.
Rebecca. But the county is not amazing. No.
So, and then I had a question. If you could pick only one new location, what would be most dirty?
Most dirty? Ooh. Well, Kansas for sure. I was there last week reconning the course. There's no flat. There's no straightaway. It's mostly gravel. It's constantly turning and going up or down.
How many miles?
Only 111.11 because we're doing this in honor of Steve Tilford, and Steve had an obsession. It was beyond an obsession with the number 11.
Oh, okay.
And particularly the time 11:11. And he would wake up as a youth every night at 11:11 and look at his alarm clock and it would say 11:11 and then he'd go back to sleep. And I have a number like that 8:08. Every time I look at my watch, it's 8:08. So he's obsessed with 11. I'm obsessed with 8. And so the race is 111.11 miles. The wafer is 111 kilometers. And I couldn't figure out how to make sense of the WANA. I couldn't just make it 11 miles. No. And then if I did 22, it'd be like, oh, it's 2 times 11. So it is what it is.
Okay, there you go. There's your answer.
But that one is so off-road gravel craziness. It's amazing. So right now, that's the most gravelicious one, if we can use that
there
word.
You go. Yeah. Okay, we're going to go with that. So in I think it's the creative disruption. No, monuments of cycling. This is going to be a big one. So you ready?
Sure.
You say that that these long events are suited for both our physiology and our psychology. What does that mean to you?
Well, they're sort of connected. When we like to do something, whether it's paint or drum or coach, we like it both because maybe we're good at it, we're attracted to it, but because we like it, we become better at it. So it's a tautology. There's a circular logic to it that's mutually reinforcing. So when you want to be good at something and you pursue it because you're ambitious, you become good at that, right? Just by dint of doing that activity every single day. And because of that, you change your physiology. So if you want to be good at long distance riding, over time, your physiology changes, right? You get skinnier, you get stronger at certain things, you can climb better. So it's the combination of those two things that are mutually reinforcing that provide us fulfillment and joy in ways that wouldn't happen if we didn't apply ourselves to those things. So they go hand in hand.
Yeah. And you make it so hard that people have to train. You can't just show up. Although I'm sure you see people just show up.
Yeah, we usually pick them up in a van later in the day.
I'm sure. Okay, so I'm going to switch over from actually, there's one more question, and this is also another a big topic, and I think it goes with not just BWR. Getting more women on gravel is really important and against mixed terrain. Where do you see the bridge to help that? Is it more opportunities? Is it giving them the tools? And how are you like positioning yourself because you're a big advocate for this?
Well, honestly, it's working with people like you that can inspire and help people along that like, hey, I want to ride a bike, but it's kind of scary. And those roadies are mean. So how do you get them comfortable on a bike? How do you get them to believe that they can do it? And these things, it's a daily thing, right? It's not you convince someone at a party after you've had a bunch of tequila, and then the next day they say, I said what? I promised I would do what? So it's this daily thing where 6 months later, you're comfortable on a bike. Maybe you're comfortable in the gravel, and it becomes something that you actually want to get better at. And then we nurture them along. So I think the first thing is attracting people just to the idea of two wheels and riding a bike and the fulfillment and joy that you can have. And then how do you avoid injury or getting hit by a car? It's easier to not get hit when you're in the gravel.
Yeah.
Although I would find a way, just so you know.
Okay. Okay, I just wasn't sure. It's hard to see. There's a
sideways.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So let me go switching over to more of your career. You're currently overseeing. I say overseeing. I'm not sure what the right word is. Involved with the Monuments of Cycling. You got Bella Town. I'm assuming there's a lot of moving parts. Is probably an understatement. You're probably like. I imagine like those chefs at those really big restaurants where there's so many people and the cooks in the kitchen.
And you're screaming.
And you're screaming. How do you keep it all going? What's your success?
One hour at a time, not one day at a time. People that know me complain that I do too much, especially my family. But it just seems natural to me. So to break it down, I started Monuments of Cycling when I left SPY. So in my career, I would get hired to turn around companies. So Creative Disruption is my agency. So typically it would go like this. A company would reach out and say, our company is failing. Can you draw us a roadmap for success? And so I would do an audit and consult with them, and then 90 days later say, here's what you need to do. And then oftentimes I would get hired to then implement that. So that happened with like Ocean Pacific was a brand that I turned around, and then 3 years later to the day we sold it. And then I moved on to do that with a bunch of brands in LA and a publicly traded company out of Australia. Then I got hired to turn around SPY. The 5 CEOs before me had lost $55 million. So I think they were looking at me like, hey, we'll just hire this guy and then it will all fail and then we can blame him. And much to their chagrin, we enjoyed 15 quarters in a row of year-over-year growth. We were publicly traded, so that was beneficial. We invented the Happy Lens. I think that's my proudest invention to date.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Oh, it's the first ever and only patented therapeutic lens technology. So Luxottica, no one else has that. SPY still has that IP. Yeah, finish that. So basically, creative disruption is the conduit for helping companies change. So then I got hired to do similar work with 100% eyewear and LEL and Wadi. And then also Nixon was having problems with their, basically they had the license to do the whole world for Adidas watches. So then I got to run the global Adidas watch program. So I report to Germany, but also I ran all the licensing for Nixon. So Metallica and Mickey Mouse and Star Wars and that stuff. So those are some of the things that I would do through creative disruption. But when I left SPY, I started Monuments of Cycling. And I have a partner, Phil, and Randall. So there's 3 of us that do that now. So those are the things that I juggle. And then now there's Velotown, which is Queen Stage, Velotown, Hamburger Hut. Then in the back, there's Catalyst Physical Therapy. And there's the bike fitting studio. And then Ossos is investing a massive amount of money to build out a showroom and a clubhouse back there. And then in the back, we're also going to host, there's another thing I created called 2 farm tables and a microphone, which is basically like a TED Talk with a really rad meal, a 4-course meal with cocktails. Everyone gets
That sounds great.
Gets groovy, and then someone does a TED Talk. So we're going to do that with some famous cycling people in our parking lot in the back enclosed area that we're creating back there. And there's probably a few other things that I'm doing, but eventually I'll drop them, because when you juggle, you drop. At least I did.
Okay, that's where I think I was going. Like, how do you keep everything going? And just to kind of, and I know there was a question out there, and but I'll ask the question in a second. I think a lot of the audience a lot of people.
Both of them.
Yeah. I don't want to use the word busy, but let's just say busy. You know, they have their careers, everyone's busy. I thought I was busy, but you take the busy.
No, we're all equally busy.
So everybody has their way of sustaining their life. How do you make sure you get the most important things done? I think
it's not a choice that I make. Around 3 o'clock, I wake up and my mind's going, dude, you totally forgot to do the most important things. So then, I sit there and lie awake, go, oh my God, I have so many things to do. Hopefully I go back to sleep, but a lot of times I don't.
Okay.
So the days that I don't, I have a couple of extra hours of productivity that I immediately get stuck into. And then by the time it's time to do the group ride, I've already done some work. Sometimes you go back to sleep, and then when you wake up, you're like, what was I worried about?
Yeah.
It's fine. But the thing is, we all take a similar amount of breaths every day. So we're all equally as busy. It's just in how you take those breaths and how you parse out the daily experience of getting things done, and not doing so to where you're so stressed that you're chemically affecting your body in negative ways, which then cause you to wake up. And then that's a vicious cycle, as opposed to the virtuous one, where you aren't on the right track, you're stressed, you need sleep, but you don't get sleep because you're stressed, and then you're more stressed, and then you go down the gurgler with that. So a lot of times taking the breaths that I'm using metaphorically, meaning take deeper breaths, breathe in more oxygen, bring the oxygen to your organs. That's why we do yoga. And remind yourself that none of it matters, right? The things that we stress about, yes, our children's health matters and their recovery from things. Our family matters. But all the things that we stress about, they don't matter. And yet we convince ourselves that they do matter, when the audience at home can think about something that maybe last week they were so freaked out about, and oh my God, the world's going to end and this is terrible. And chemically, their body was reacting to that in all the negative ways. A week later, that problem doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. And that's ad infinitum. Everything that we make into something big does not matter. So if we're constantly reminding ourselves that none of this matters, then we can give of ourselves to things and make them matter, the things that we choose to make matter. But when we respond to things in a negative way and give that energy, we're taking away our own positive energy to apply to the things that matter, like family and friends, training, work. So the message is, it doesn't matter unless you make it matter.
Whew. Soak that one in.
Okay, that was well stated. I was
I was curious,
It
like,
just
how does
happened.
he do all this stuff? So, okay, so we're gonna switch over to a
Like if I could underscore the wisdom of that which I just said, there have been so many times where the BWR was not going to happen in the days leading up to the BWR. For instance, most years we don't even get our permit until that Friday. So imagine when it's the week before the event, you have 4,000 people coming from all over the world to do the race, and the guy at the county says, yeah, you guys are done. You're not going to be able to do it. The Caltrans thing isn't done. You haven't gotten the permit from that private landowner, and the people at the park say that you haven't paid them their $250. And I'm like, well, here's a receipt, and this is actually done, and here's the plan. By the way, it's someone in your office that hasn't signed off on it. That's on you guys. And then ultimately it happens. And if every year for every event, we all responded like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Then we acquiesced on people that are saying, don't do it, or you can't do it, or this is bad. The devil is saying all of that. And if you respond to that and give that energy, things won't happen. And the BWR won't go off, and you'll have to cancel it. But so when you fight the good fight, you have to choose which things to fight, which things to listen to, and give your energy to. But yeah, like BWR has almost not happened many times.
That sounds stressful.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can read sideways here. What is the longest ride you have ever done? And then best tire choice. Oh wow, we're gonna go and then Calvacher bottles. Okay, longest rides you have ever done. I guess you would have to say the presumption is in one day. I'm gonna assume that.
I've done a couple 200-mile races and won one of them. So that was like nearly 9 hours, 8 and some odd hours of racing. So that's kind of a long time. Yeah, 200 is kind of like, that's the threshold for me.
Yeah, that seems very, very, very long. Your BWR was probably my longest one day, but I did the Stagecoach 400, and that one nearly killed me.
Oh, yeah, I did do raw, but as a team. So that was 930 miles. We did that a few years ago, but I only had to do 246 of it or something. But it was all at like 30 miles an hour because you're doing it in 20-minute time trials, because we just wanted to set the record.
Did you?
And so by like 9 hours.
I don't even
We
know.
were fretting about it the whole time, and then
I need to look up that one.
raw.
Okay,
That's
I have to look
that's
that
the
up.
record.
Okay, so and then I'll ask. I have a couple of rapid fire questions. So cycle spin guy. I'll ask.
So definitely water bottles, not Camelback.
For the BWR.
Yeah,
And
for any race.
okay,
And white socks too, but okay, we're not talking about fashion. And then what was it, tires?
Yeah.
I did the BWR course this year on 25s, but I've done it every year on 25s.
Yeah.
So maybe 26 or 27.
Now he's being cheeky.
I think if you want to win it, you do it on 28s. If you want to survive here 32 or 34. But if you're doing Kansas, you want 42.
Good. I was going to ask
Yeah.
you about that.
Okay. So good question. Thank you. Dan, that's skinny. Yeah, that is skinny. Okay, so marketing.
But we have done it on 23s.
That was back in the day before
Yeah,
there were gravel
before they
bikes.
invented anything
Yeah.
wider. It was 18 or 23s, so we went with 23s. And and one year I used tubulars and flatted. So I
Yeah.
ran my bike for 4.5 miles in the dirt.
Oh.
That kind of sucked. But
Yeah.
someone at the end of the trail had a wheel for me to use, so I was able to borrow that and finish. But that's because I was on skinny tires.
That was, well, thank God for gravel bikes. They've helped it helped a lot of people approach the gravel
For sure.
race or
Yeah.
the mixed
It's a
terrain race.
good on-ramp to enjoying two wheels.
Yeah. Okay, so the marketing question, I would love to talk in depth about your marketing, what you do for business, but I know that would take too long. This is my daughter, Alex. Go ahead.
Hi. You're not. If you walk that way, you're not in the camera, so you might want to walk this way and wave to the people at home.
Okay.
There's about 15,332 people waving right now.
So my question about the marketing is how, I don't want to say how do you leverage social media and technology, but it's more like how does it work for you and where do you think it stops and the human connection goes on? Like, for example, this is great because we can reach other people, but I could also have all these people come to my home, right? Like, how is it that social media, how do you spread your, I don't know, I think you know what I'm trying to ask. I'm not sure how to ask it.
Well, social media is a powerful tool, right? And it becomes more powerful every day. I mean, that will change at some point with regulations and things that will happen, but I won't go down that rabbit hole. I started my marketing career before they had invented, like Al Gore had not invented the internet when I started marketing. So you did it through experiences, you did it through magazines, and how you showed up at retail.
Yeah.
So now you don't even need to have retail because you can do everything on your phone. So now how we fall in love with brands is usually through our phone, but also I think more powerfully through experience or experiences. BWR is an experience, but every day, I post about it. But I take a different tact. Like a lot of people make it very transactional, right? Buy now. We're going to run out. Buy now. So it's fear-based.
Yeah.
It's transactional. It's kind of gross. So I'm doing an experiment with Velotown for social media is I'm only sharing the romance of two wheels. So every post has to do with how great it is. The people, the experience, and how glorious this recreation is that we have and lifestyle. So I'm not selling anything. I'm not offering anything for sale. There's no shop now. It's just messaging that over time, people will hopefully fall in love with the romanticism that we're offering. And then maybe want to have a cup of coffee with us or buy a kit or a bike. Whereas with other businesses that I've run, how do you make it more transactional? How do you create e-commerce sales and how do you cleverly suck people into the funnel and get them to transact? I'm just much less interested in selling anything. I don't want to sell anything. I want to do two things with the remainder of time that I have on this planet, which is edify and entertain. So edify, if I can somehow teach my kids to cope with life or help my friends or my students become more fulfilled in the things that they do, or provide them guardrails towards fulfillment, that's the edification. And then there's entertainment. And sometimes those two things can go hand in hand. You can do lectures and be really funny. And by way of that humor, people are more willing to listen to the message that
Mhm.
resides just beneath the humor. So those are the two things that I want to do in life. And if somehow that causes some sort of transaction, that ugly word, then that's fine. Because if the transaction happens to be about edifying their life, then it's okay. But I really don't want to sell anything, but I do want to entice people to have the experience of BWR, or to have the experience of how wonderful it is to be in a new bike.
Yeah.
Those are the two things that I want to do in life.
And I think you also mentioned being connected to your community. And how do you use, it doesn't have to be social media, but how do you use technology? Like when you made the video or the movie for the BWR, I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, we've done it every year.
Are those ways that you want the people to know you more and you get to know them more? Or are there other ways that you get to connect with your community? And where does technology end, and where do you think, and this can just be for you, it could be like, I think where I'm asking this is there seems to be this need to use technology a lot to expand. And then sometimes you just need to turn everything off and just walk outside. And I think there's benefits to both. And I just want to see, especially in your role, how you see the two.
Well, it's challenging because most of us are addicted to the dopamine that comes from interacting with the phone.
Mm-hmm.
But we also get dopamine from many other things, like just chit-chatting like this, going for a ride, going to a concert, experiencing love in all of its forms. That's addicting. The dopamine that comes from the phone is you've posted something and now you want likes. And so you're constantly, people are checking to see if there's likes. Did someone like this? And if they did, then there's a dopamine hit. And it's this highly addicting thing. It's more addicting than any chemical, right? Because we're addicted to the dopamine. That's the chemical. It's the reaction to those things. For us to be edified and entertained, sometimes it means there's no phone involved, but there is a hike or a walk or a dinner or a chat. And in those moments, we can experience life in a much more nostalgic way, meaning like it was when we were kids.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to force ourselves to have away time from the screen and find dopamine in other areas. That if you get addicted to being outside, that's okay. If you get addicted to needing the phone, that's not okay, right? So you're not experiencing life. So technology is it's a trap. It's a tool.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to handle that tool. But you also need to know where it goes and how to put it away. And not to get preachy, but I can say these things because I experienced that type of addiction or need. I don't care about likes, but I want to see what's going on in the news. I'm constantly checking the news, and that's something that happened more recently to me, and I'm not happy about it. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's kind of what I was curious about, where, especially in your role with the marketing, how you use it, and when you realize just go outside and do something unique.
But for you're using this to communicate with people, and so you want more people to be able to experience this, right? Like we'd all like to have our audiences grow, and so what we have to do is like say, hey, if you guys are having fun right now, which I know you are, then tell your friends, because it's the same thing when I started the BWR. I said, my only ask is that you tell your friends that you had a good time and to come back and do it. So if you guys can share that, and then you can grow your thing, and then it starts to happen. There's this organic growth because people are like, oh my God, she is so cool and really good at what she does. and wholesome and all these other words that I can attribute to you. And then you build this audience, and that is by way of technology, and that's
Yeah.
great. And we want
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But we want it to be authentic and real and not transactional, because there's no transaction here.
No.
We're just sharing ideas. That's the only transaction.
Yeah.
But sometimes those are the best transactions, right? You walk away from an encounter with somebody and you take away a nougat that you keep with you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Or for a long time.
Yeah, well, you've already given me lots of little nuggets. So we have a lot of fun people on. Paul's on from Wrench House, so thank you for joining. And I saw
pretty
Judy.
lips.
So, okay, so I have some rapid fire questions. I know Judy, you asked about the future BWR. We did talk about it, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. So I asked Victor Sheldon to ask if he had a question for you, and he wants to know, what is your favorite tequila?
Well, I love a good extra añejo. I would say there's one that's hard to get called Abandonado, and they have an extra añejo. So I think that's my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But I would say any tequila that's in my hand is my favorite.
There you go. So
Yep.
today I had a shot of tequila with him just because.
She had 6. She's lying. I'm
Okay.
still having.
That's his tequila. That would be good. And we had some fun. Michael and I had some fun listening to music before we got on. But another question was, who's your favorite drummer?
From you?
For
Or
you?
from the folks at home?
Victor asked that too.
Oh, there's a guy named Carter Beauford who plays for the Dave Matthews Band, and I'm left and right-handed, so I do things mostly left-handed, but some things I still do right-handed. So I can play the drums left and right-handed. So I have my drum set up so that I can play like he does, which is this linear approach to playing. So you utilize everything on the drums differently than you would if you're just oriented yourself to just playing right hand lead. So I really appreciate his drumming, and it's over the top at times. And then there's a guy named Vinny Caluta who gets hired to do. He's played with Sting and B-52s and Herbie Hancock, and he's probably the most sought after drummer. I would say I appreciate so many because each one has something different to offer. I have a drum mentor who played with Cher in her heyday, and Olivia Newton-John and Deep Purple and Eddie Money, and he really taught me a lot. He taught me to play less. So when I started recording and doing work with him, I wanted to show off, and he would say, "Dude, he would sit down and he'd go, 'This is showing off,' and then he would just like smoke the room, and he got me to play better, more professionally, more maturely.
Yeah.
The essentials. His name is Gary Ferguson, and he's awesome.
I look forward to hearing you play one day, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe the next time we play Belly Up.
Oh yeah, and there was my question was, I'm so sorry, Victor, you're going to listen to it. He's like, that wasn't my question. His question was, in addition to the tequilas, how many KLMs do you have?
I don't know. It's way over 3,000, but I don't know the number.
Do you get alerts when they get taken?
Yeah, but it's almost always from someone in a car or Victor, who's not in a car.
There you go. Okay, I have 2 more questions, and then if anybody, I see something about pedal setup, but I have a question for you, and you kind of answered it already. How do you take a rest day?
What's that?
Okay.
Only when time does not avail to ride. Like I took a rest day today because I'm, trying to recover.
Okay.
And I wanted to have as much energy for you as I possibly
Well,
could.
thank you.
So I rested today. But I don't know. Rest days it seems like a waste of time.
Oh God.
I'm sorry. It's so important, especially to a coach. Like Most days should be rest days. 2 days a week you go hard. But then when Victor takes your KOMs, you got to go back out and take them on your rest day. I'm being facetious, but I literally have struggled with that since I was a young athlete, and it took coaches to like actually tie me down certain days because I got chronic fatigue from training too much.
Yeah.
It's bad.
All right. So we'll have to work on the rest day. And then, yeah, you can leave.
DoorDash is here.
It's
They
not
brought
for me.
tequila.
It's not for me. Okay. This is a, oh God. I like him. No rest. Listen up. No, don't listen to you. I'm
What?
told to the rest.
Listen to everything except
that.
training.
Okay. I loved your TEDx talk. If you guys, I know we're going to be wrapping it up here, but if you have never heard his
Oh, thank
TEDx
God.
talk, you should. It's entertaining. He's got some really good stories. He's a good storyteller. What is your North Star right now?
Edifying and entertaining.
That's what I thought.
That's it. It's easy to get distracted by like, hey, why don't you start this company and do that? And maybe I will if I can somehow edify the world and or entertain them. But if it's just to make money, I'm not interested. If it's to bring value to people, so all I want to do is edify and entertain, whether that's my kids, my dog, my students, my partners, or the people I get to ride bikes with. Edify and entertain.
I love it. Now it's going to go viral that you don't rest. Wow.
I mean, you can see I got hit by a car, so I've barely ridden the last a month, but then I'm like, oh my God, I haven't ridden. I'm going to get on the bike and literally hammer. Like when I was out of town, I would ride and I would do short rides and I'd just go hard and then I'd be tired. And like, oh man, I probably shouldn't have done that. But, at nearly 60, I'm still motivated to do that. And I keep thinking at some point that motivation won't be there. And then what will life be like? So I'm like Victor, I'm motivated to do stuff. And Victor, by the way, mostly rests and then still goes out and can win a race.
Yeah.
Or a national title, but he's superhuman. And we all know that you can't spell victory without Victor.
I like that.
Yeah.
So that is a wrap. I don't know if I have any more questions. It's good to see all you for joining. Did you have any parting words other than I know you probably want to go home and have dinner?
No, I don't need till late. I'm going to go home and practice the drums.
Okay.
Then I have a meeting about a juniors team that we're developing now that's really exciting. And then I'll eat dinner later. And then get up and not rest tomorrow. Yeah. Because tomorrow's Friday.
Tomorrow's Friday. Yeah, I'm really happy about that. Well, I'm glad we made this work. And we were able to come over and had you in my home, which is exciting. You're definitely a legend in my eyes and in my heart. So thank you all thank you for all for being here.
You.
And thank you, Michael. Can I give you a hug?
Yay.
Thank you so much. And imparting some wisdom and knowledge. So next month, I am really excited to have Jim Miller.
Oh, the voice of gravel.
Yeah, and mountain bike racing too.
Oh, well, he's branching out. We might have to fire him in the
No,
gravel.
no, well,
because
I know-
We know those mountain bike people make fun of us in gravel.
So
He's going to have to pick.
So I have a list. I can't share it with you guys because it's my little secret. But I have a list of all the people I want to bring on, and so
Elon Musk. That's a good one.
so
Do you
anyway,
think he'll come here?
yeah. So anyway, thank you. I hope to do this about every month. Show you different parts of cycling, everything from, as I mentioned from the beginning,
people who put on the races, people who win the races, and not necessarily win the races, but are that inspire you to do something different. Or maybe they show you the line to some gnarly descent. There's a lot of people who don't race that are local legends because they are soul riders and they just go out. So I really want to make it wide and depth as far as my guests, and just share with the community how awesome we have here in the cycling community. I don't know, I think I just said that twice, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. I have 2 signs off here. So thank you again, everybody, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, end stream. Bye. Okay, so let's see here. They gave us
I
a
hope
cheers.
I did okay for you.
Okay, live. Okay, I'm gonna hit close. Are you sure you want to end your video?
Mhm.
And okay. Oh, I forgot to do that last time. And then
Save.
I think if I don't save the title, that's fine. If I don't save the title right away, it doesn't get saved.
Oh,
Like, let me just type it in.
yeah,
I can't go back and fix it.
you can't.
No, so let me
All
just
right, so don't screw it up.
okay, episode 2. Okay, share, post. Thank you. That was
Is
fun.
it okay?
Yeah,
All right, good.
very good. I try not to ask the obvious questions. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's plenty more that we could have gone over.
yeah, so this is really good. I think people like seeing who you are, and I've only gotten to know you a little bit more just because of things that I've been to and been around you, and I'm like, so I
Nice.
wanted to expose that part of your mental side, and
Did
part of
we-
me was
did we
like,
do that?
I was like, I hope he doesn't say anything I can't understand, like say a word. I was like,
Oh, I didn't. Did
you're
I?
too smart for me.
All right, sure.
So, there we go.